Evening, friends, and welcome to Fitness Talks with Anand on the platform of ISFS, that is ISST School of Fitness Sciences, and in association with UHFF, that is United Health and Fitness Federation. So, friends, today we will be in the fifth episode of season 2, the season which is dedicated to sexology. And Dr. Rajendra Sathe has been kind enough to spare time and help us grow our knowledge for the same, which is very essential for the society today. So we'll have Doctor joining us today. Our topic is masturbation, myths, side effects, and various other things.
Hello, beautiful evening, doctor. Are you able to hear me?
Good. Yeah, now I'm able to hear you.
Perfect. So, I was talking to our viewers and the viewers who will see us later on that today we are addressing a very important topic.
Correct.
Masturbation. So many questions in people's mind. There are so many
Hmm.
myths about it and so many things about side effects and so on. In fact,
Correct.
after we decided to take this topic, in fact, I started doing my research and knowing more about it because I had my own thoughts about it and my own mindset. So I'm really looking forward to getting more knowledge from you today about the same. So,
Yeah.
doctor, please tell us about this topic.
Yeah. What I will do is I will briefly share the history about this topic initially, as to
Yes,
how this subject got a bad name, and then
correct.
I will take on the questions. I hope people have asked you questions and sent you any questions on this
Yes,
matter.
yes,
I have
yes,
not received any, but maybe you
right.
have, or in your research you must have got the question that you want to ask me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doctor, before we start, we
Yeah.
just need to, your visual is not very clear. It is
Uh,
coming
is
blurry.
it?
Are you connected to the Wi-Fi or using the mobile data? Please check
No,
once.
I'm using the mobile data actually.
Okay,
I'm very much on the mobile data, and
okay.
I can see your image quite clearly.
Clearly, okay.
So
I am not,
is it
your
better for
image
you
is
now?
blurry. So
Actually,
Ankush,
I
we have
can.
a viewer, Ankush here. Ankush, can you please confirm if you are able to see both of us clearly and you are able to hear us? Please type in the comments. Ankush, can you please tell us if you are able to see us and hear us clearly? Both of us.
Yes, I can see myself clearly, obviously, but that's
Yeah,
because
correct.
this is there. But
Your voice is
uh,
pretty clear, no problem. We can go ahead
yeah,
with
yeah.
the audio. I think with time it will get clear.
Actually, I'm not on the broadband. I'm actually directly on the net, so I
Okay,
don't have any issues over there.
okay, okay. No problem. Let's go ahead. Your voice is clear.
Yeah. So basically, if you see, I'll ask Yash. I think he must have. Can you
Hi.
can you see both of us clearly, Yash? Please type in your comment. Well, let him type it by the time we will just start. Okay.
Yes, let's start. Yeah.
Okay. So my research into masturbation started way back in the 1980s when I decided to delve more seriously into this topic. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, one tries to sort of find out the history.
Right.
Okay. One tries to find out the history about this particular activity and as to why it got such a bad name as it did for all these years.
Correct.
Right. So I went directly to the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Bible because
Mm.
it is in that literature that I found out that it got a very bad name.
Right.
So while reading some books, I came across one particular book where the title of the book was "Sex and the Bible," and
Okay.
in that particular author, he compared the he gave us the history about how Christianity started looking at the concept of masturbation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the Old Testament, that's about 3,000 years ago, when the Jews were, very much in command. There is a God of the Jews called Yahweh. His name
Yahweh.
is Yahweh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he is supposed to be the final authority in sort of Judaism. So he was in those days. He was a person who was a godlike person, a king or sort of. And in those days, there was a very special law in Judaism. It was called the Levirate law. Or the other brother of the family to have sex with that particular lady and give her a child. And that was a law. So, which means that if anybody dies childless and his wife is alone, left back alone, then his family member has to have sex with that particular girl. And so that she would get a child which was raised like the child of that particular person who died. And the son, he gave the mother the class and the social status for her to survive in society, even though she was a widow.
Okay.
Right. So now one particular person, this was the law. This was the Levirate law in Judaism.
Okay.
So what happened was that one particular person, his name was Er. So he died, and when he died, his wife, her name I think was Tamar. So she, went to Yahweh and said that, look, now my husband is died, so I want to become a mother of a child. So Er's brother, whose name was Onan, he should have sex with me and give me a child. But for some reasons unknown to us, that person Onan, he did not want to have sex with this girl, and he was sort of forced to come close to her. But when he came close to her, or rather when he was forced to do that, what he did is that whenever she tried to have sex with him, he masturbated, and he allowed the semen to fall to the ground. So, in that language, it was called that he allowed his seed to fall on the ground.
Okay.
And then when this happened, this particular lady, she went to Tamar, she went to Yahweh and complained about him. So Yahweh got very angry and he killed Onan.
Okay.
So from then on, anybody who sort of is found to masturbate and spill the semen on the ground, or seed on the ground, as it is said in those days. It was said in those days. He was sort of condemned of committing the sin of masturbation. So using his hand to stimulate his penis and allow the semen to flow out, and then this was looked upon like a sin against God, the God of Yahweh.
Okay.
Right. So this is how the story goes in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
Right.
And
something
that is how
extremely new. Something extremely. I don't think anybody would be knowing this. Very rarely.
Yeah. Very rare. Yeah. So that is how this particular activity got the first bad name, which has been recorded in history, in the books.
Okay. Okay.
Later on, there were other people who also, spoke for and against masturbation. But those people who spoke against masturbation got a bigger and a better platform. Even Aristotle, way back 2,000 years ago, or 2,000 years somewhat ago, he also said that masturbation makes you feel weak. Masturbation makes you feel exhausted and all those things. So, it was looked upon and frowned upon by the society in general, even in those days, even in the Roman times and all that. So nobody used to talk about it, and nobody really, sort of encouraged it in those days, especially in the Western world of Christianity. Then coming a little more ahead, even in Islam, it is supposed to be called haram, which means that the Prophet did not endorse this particular activity and people should not do it. So that was in the Middle East areas. In India, if you see, this particular activity was not shunned upon, not too many people wrote about it in the past. And I think one particular fact that must have prevented people from doing much masturbation was that, in India, girls and boys were puberty of, say, 13 or 14, the boy was married to an 8 or a 10-year-old girl. And they grew up, and as soon as the boy became, sort of sexually active, though the girl may have still not been, may not have gone into the menarche stage, but yet they started having sex. And what we can see in the history, even right up to the last century, you can see that girls, when they were married off at the age of 8 or 10 or 12, they became mothers at the age of 15, and the boy always had a partner at a very young age to have sex with. And that is why perhaps in the olden days, in India especially, there wasn't anybody who was, criticizing masturbation, perhaps because they were not masturbating as much. Whereas if you see the current scenario, girls and boys are not married till they're 25 or 30, and boys even up to the age of 35. So, but they become sexually mature at the age of 15 or 16. And then the body is going to demand that particular activity. And if they do not have a partner, then obviously they do masturbate. So that is why the culture of masturbation started more and more after the marriages started happening later and later. That is my understanding and my take on the whole scenario. And that is why, because a man or a woman is not able to find a partner, and the urge to sex is, sort of popping up because of the high testosterone levels and, the high degree of the ability, the desire to have a copulatory act. The young men, especially as I told you, teenagers, and then those in the early 20s do masturbate. Then what happened, this is my observation regarding the Indian system now and, a few years, maybe 1 or 2 centuries ago. But what happened was, in the late 1600s and 1700s in Europe, there was one particular doctor called Dr. Tissot, and he wrote a book on masturbation called Onanism. And there he mentioned about the word onan. The onan was again from the Hebrew name of Onan, and the story of Onan and Ur. So there he mentioned that for the first time that 40 drops of blood make 1 drop of semen, and if you drop the semen to the ground, then it will cause you to become weak, lose weight, eventually die. And he wrote a big book, in those days. That was initially in Swiss. The language was German and Swiss, but later on, what happened was that they translated the book in English, and it became very popular all over the world. In India, a lot of the Swamis, they picked up this book and they started talking on this matter. So I think one was Swami Shivananda, who has written The Art of Brahmacharya or some book like that. And there were others also, like Swami Ramkirti Paramahansa and even Swami Vivekananda, who were big philosophers. But I think that they should not have delved in the subject of masturbation per se, because it is concerning the human body. But yet they did give their advice to people, and many young men, even today, do follow their advice regarding masturbation, and they do feel that doing this is a big sin and it should not be done and all those things. So that is how it crept into the Indian society, and sort of that that you should not masturbate. It is pollution. It will make you lose your memory. It will make hair grow in the palms of your hands, and whatnot theories were put forth. And
Right.
it can make you impotent, and it can make you get sexually transmitted diseases and whatever, all those things. So all
Right.
these things were floating around right up to the early part of the 20th century. Then came the surveys of Kinsey.
Okay.
Alfred Kinsey was an American behavioral scientist who, sort of did a lot of research on sexuality in the males. And what he did was he asked questions to people. He trained people to ask questions. And he did a huge survey in the Americas in the late 1930s. And published his findings in 2 books. One was for the female and one was for the male. And there he was the first to, sort of tell the American people that, look, whatever you may say about masturbation, it is still a fact that people do masturbate, and a huge number of people do masturbate, and there is no real need to get worried on all these issues.
Correct.
So that was the first survey study which was published in the form of a book. Subsequent to that, Masters and Johnson did their research in the 50s, mid 50s and 60s, and published their books, The Human Sexual Response and Human Sexual Inadequacy and all those. So those books came out in the 1960s, where they came to a conclusion that they looked upon masturbation more as a normal physiological activity for all men. And
Correct.
They sort of told the public at large that, look, this is normal to do and all those things. But yet, it still is a big issue of conflict among the religions. For example, Christian people, hardcore Christian people today, who follow the Roman Catholic or the Protestant methods, or the hardcore Jews or hardcore Islam, all of them still consider masturbation to be something which is not good for your body and not good for your mind, and it is wrong. And when the religious preachers start preaching all these activities, all these thoughts, they get into the minds of the youngsters, and they get sort of impregnated into their hard disk. Now here hard disk, again I am going to talk a little bit about the topic that we spoke yesterday about computer, the human computer. So once it gets impregnated into their hard disk that masturbating is wrong to do, then it creates a conflict in their mind. And what happens is that if a man masturbates, if a young boy masturbates, then he gets the error message on his screen, that this program has performed an illegal function and will shut down. So that is how the particular person who masturbates, he gets getting those error messages in his brain. And then he starts, sort of worrying too much about the whole issue, and start saying that, look, this is what I'm doing wrong, and all those things. So that is how things start happening nowadays. And young boys, they have the urge. There is a sudden surge of testosterone around the age of 14 and 15, which gives the secondary sexual characters to a man, like facial hair, body hair around the penis and the genital areas. So all these things are going to happen, and that is how the man is going to surely, sort of get the urge to masturbate. And if it is each and every time causing a conflict in his mind, then it becomes an issue of trouble for that particular person.
Correct.
So that is about the history of masturbation.
Wow. So true. And that now we come to know that how did this myths come into the picture, and the myths about the side effects come into the picture. Wow.
Yeah, and I earlier said also, that people like John Kellogg, who created the Kellogg's cornflakes, and even there is one particular man called Sylvester Graham. He promoted. We don't get the Graham's crackers over here, but basically they are like biscuits. In America they call crackers biscuits, and Graham's crackers, I think you must be knowing that they are very popular in the United States. So these foods were marketed as anti-masturbation foods, and in fact in the very early days, the boxes of Kellogg's cornflakes, they actually contain that message that if you do this particular activity at night, then you eat Kellogg's cornflakes in the early morning, so that all your weaknesses and all your, the bad effects on your body will go away and you'll become a stronger man. Yeah.
True.
So that is why the publicity kept happening, and now I can see that the publicity is a reverse publicity. Now, in the Western countries, masturbation is in fact encouraged. In fact, the CICUS as an organization, it tells parents that look, this is something which is normal. If your child is doing it, do not punish him for that.
Right.
So that is what is a total a 180-degree turn on the issue of masturbation in the Western areas, and even now in the eastern parts of India, in India.
Super. So now we are coming to know what is the true nature of it. And
yes.
Wow. So, Doctor, should we move? So I want to tell all our viewers that if you have any questions, please keep writing to us so that we can share the same with Doctor. Doctor, I had a few questions.
I have written a book. I don't know whether you can read it. I think it will come in the reverse right now. But it is called Hastamaithuna Badal Se Hitagus.
Okay.
So the title of the book is Hastamaithuna Badal Se Hitagus. And one more book which I wrote way back in 1996 is this one. So this is Kama Tantra Prema Tantra. And in this particular book, I have mentioned Tawalkar sir's name and Yajin as to how they contributed in my thoughts. I can give this book someday.
Yeah, we spoke about that. True. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where, if somebody wants to buy this, I had one viewer would ask me that Doctor has written 2 books.
Actually,
how can I get them?
What my experience is that not too many bookkeepers take it, and neither do they display it on their shelves. So I suggest that they come to my clinic and pick it up. Now the one which I published in 1996 is not too many copies are left, so I didn't reprint it either. But this Marathi version which is available is very cheap also, and people can read it. So this is something which is there.
So friends, if you want to read what Dr. Sathe has written in the 2 books, please do contact us, or you can directly visit his clinic and pick a copy from there. Doctor, we had some questions from some viewers.
Yeah.
We can complete. You complete first, then we'll move to the questions.
Okay. Right. So what I wanted to just briefly tell you that, not everyone was anti-masturbation, crusader. Even in the 1800s and 1900s, there were a lot of people who, did give some aspect about the healthy effects of masturbation also. So even in the West, there were some people in the East, but they were shouted down by the others. So they were sort of, they couldn't prove anything that doing this activity is normal or anything. So nothing can be, but they were shouted down. And their suggestions were never incorporated in the big way. So the anti-masturbation people were very strong and vocal in their activity, whereas the pro-masturbation people were quite subdued. That is what was the case.
Okay, right. That's why the anti ones are more into people's mind. I remember as growing up, hearing from some elderly friends or some friends that, this is something wrong, and then there was a very nice initiative by schools when I was somewhere in 9th standard, I think 2000, the year 2000, 2001, when they started Know and Grow lectures in school, where they started talking about sexology. It was something very good that I appreciate.
Yeah, actually, even in our school, I think you are also from Loyola, I believe.
I am from KHS.
Okay. In our school in Loyola, we had a subject on moral science. And we had one particular father who used to come and talk to us a little bit more on masturbation. And all of us, at the age of, say, it was between the age of 12, 13 years or so, we used to ask questions to him. And he used to answer quite freely and all those things. I don't remember what he exactly said now, because a long time, just a long time ago. But yet, in some schools, definitely sex education was a part of it. And nowadays what happens, I'll tell you, that when it comes to such matters, very often school teachers tell their mothers or their fathers to talk to them directly. So they themselves, the school teachers themselves, are very uncomfortable in talking about masturbation to their children, to the school children. So what they tell the father or the mother is that, usually what happens is that the school teacher tells the mother, you tell your husband to talk to your child on this issue. But what I have seen is that most of the men, even if they have become fathers, they are still ignorant on the issue of masturbation. And all those issues, how can an ignorant person guide it's like a blind man guiding a blind man again. So my suggestion to everybody is that you should seek professional help. Go to a doctor who can counsel you. Very often, if you just approach your regular doctor, he will just tell, no, it is normal, don't worry about it. But then that doesn't really have any effect on the child's mind. The child wants to discuss it, and he wants to ask personal questions. So if the doctor tells in front of the mother or in front of, say, other patients about this guy's question, his query about masturbation, they still remain unanswered. So what I do is that I rarely get fathers or parents who get their children to me and they want me to talk to them on all these issues. And I sit with the child alone. And then I guide that particular child and help him to understand all these issues and how Mother Nature acts, in the life of a person, and how all these things are going to happen inevitably in his case also. So I allay his fears, I allay his sort of concerns. I give him guidance. But then for that, a 15-year-old child will not come to me alone. His parent needs to get him to me. Because that is how I believe the best way you can sort out things. Because see, for anything and everything you go to a doctor. For anything and everything you go also to a specialist. So what is wrong in approaching a specialist who is more interested in counseling rather than giving medicines? So the message that I would give to your listeners today, and perhaps anyone who hears this talk on YouTube, is that if you really have an issue in your mind, do go to a counselor, do go and meet a person who can talk to the child directly and give him or her proper scientific information. And then see how the child would, behave in his studies, because these activities start sometime around the age of 13, 14, where the child is going to appear for the 10th and the 12th standard examinations. And if these issues keep bothering the mind of the child, then the child continues to remain in the dark, groping in the dark, and then he cannot concentrate on his studies, he or she cannot concentrate on his studies, and his marks, suddenly a very studious boy, he starts off going down, his grades start going down. And all these things happen, and neither the parents understand nor the teachers understand why this is happening. But very often, even the schools have counselors for this activity. So you can tell the parent to go to the school counselor. And if really it is a real need where you don't want to go to the school counselor also, you can go to a doctor who definitely does this type of work. And go to a specialist, because the child needs time. You cannot just, go to sometimes a family doctor who is, seeing 100 patients a day and who doesn't have even 2 minutes to talk with
time to
counsel, then it really doesn't work. So time is a constraint. So time is really important. It's the crux of the matter.
Correct. True. And that's the logical thing to do, that if you want to know about something, the right thing is to go to an expert. And that's how it should be done. So that's the logical way to go ahead. It's such a wonderful thing you've shared, that so many people who, when these questions start coming in, they are in their 10th standard. And that's an important year in their academics also. So I think this is a very important point that parents should understand. And definitely, as we share these links on YouTube, a lot of people go through these videos later also, and it will be useful for many people. So true, doctor. So we have one of our guests asking, that is masturbation helpful or harmful to the health?
Well, it is helpful and harmful. That is my take on it. And basically my take on it is like food. Is food helpful or harmful to your body? So since you are in the fitness industry, what you can tell a person is that, well, it is the type of food that you eat, how you eat, how many times in a day do you eat, whether you are doing proper exercise or not. No, my my suggestion always to these people is that, if that particular activity you feel is causing physical harm or mental harm, then you have to approach a professional who can help you.
Correct.
And like smoking, or for example, or like drinking alcohol, for example, that though we say that smoking or drinking alcohol can cause cancer of the lung or cirrhosis of the liver, not everyone is affected by it. There is a small percentage of people who are affected by these diseases. So similarly, usually I would say that almost all men masturbate. And those men who say that they don't masturbate, they do not know that they are masturbating perhaps, or they are lying.
Right.
So everyone does it, but then some people, they are adversely affected by it. And as I told you, that if it is affecting them mentally or physically, then they should seek professional help, get best possible advice, and try to overcome the problem. I get a lot of people who are competing for different examinations and all those things, and I tell them that, look, for this there is a counseling therapy which is available, for which you will have to come to me quite often. If you are not able to visit me, actually we can do the sessions on WhatsApp video chat or Google video chat or any other means.
Correct.
Now in these days of lockdown, and get all these things cleared from your mind. And some people do it, but some people are very skeptical about it. So, they still do not think that just by talking to someone I can cure their problems. But my experience has been that I can do that. And I have solved a number of problems of many couples and individuals. Sexual issues just by talking. 1 or 2 sessions of 1 or 2 hours each, or sustained sessions. Actually, what I suggest that you should take a 3 or a 6 month course of counseling, where every week or every 15 days we meet and we address all the questions that come to their mind, because questions keep popping up all the time, and you need someone who can keep guiding you continuously on this matter. So just one session may not help you. You may need to come continuously. So this particular answer that it can be good, it can be bad, is what I stay on. How it can be bad is usually discussed particularly with that patient or the person who comes to me, because I believe it can be bad also. So I'm not the type of doctor that who will say that masturbation is only good. And there are some doctors who say that masturbation is very bad. So I'm not in either of these camps. I try to look at it in a balanced manner, and I try to give advice and convince the particular person through counseling means to help time and overcome this.
So it is something very personalized. It depends on that person's life and his issues. Correct.
Yeah.
We had one more question where the person wanted to ask that, does masturbation affect sports performance?
I think just a minute.
Yeah. So friends, if you have any questions, please do write to us. And if you don't want to write these questions here, you can WhatsApp the questions to me on 9860-531794. Yes, doctor. So the question was, does masturbation affect sports performance or performance of any kind, physical sports performance?
See, basically what I feel that it again depends more on the mind of the person than anything else. That way, masturbation can be a little bit of an exhausting activity for a person. It can be. But it can, if a man looks at it in a positive manner, it can also make him mentally charged up and physically charged up.
Right.
So it has a dual effect on the person. Some people are benefited, some people are not benefited. If you feel that you are getting any issues because of doing this particular activity, then again I would tell them that, look, instead of just worrying and keeping quiet about the whole thing and not seeking help, it's always better to seek help and sort of get this thing. So there is again there are two camps of thought that some people would say that no, they should not masturbate. Some people say that you should masturbate. In fact, most of the European football league coaches, they tell their men not to masturbate. There are some that they tell that they can masturbate. So it is all basically how your teacher guides you over here. But then still again over there, you should seek professional help.
True, very true. And I think I think my take on this is if your cardiovascular endurance is good and your fitness levels are good, then you might feel less exhaustion after masturbation, and you might be able to perform your activities fine.
That is the golden conclusion, because very often I see that people who are very malnourished, people sometimes are not able to have a square meal a day, or they are eating, they are not having proteins and fats in their diet and eating only plain carbs. Usually they eat just a vada pav for breakfast and then something similar for lunch and dinner. And they are thin, emaciated, and obviously they have a gross deficiency of vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which is very common, calcium, and all the other basic vitamins. So all of them are already feeling weak. And if they continue to masturbate, then obviously it will have some kind of a toll on their body. But a person who is eating good food and exercising well, usually he doesn't get bothered because of all these issues. So that is my take on it.
So the second question is, what is the age generally which is normal for a person, maybe a male or a female, to have this feeling and masturbate? And till what age? Is there any age limits or anything like that?
See, we have videos of a child who is playing with his penis inside the womb of a woman. So even before a child is born, there is evidence to see that the child is, sort of playing with his penis or touching the genital areas. We have videos like that, taken on ultrasound, USG. And we have people who are in their 90s also who continue to masturbate. So it is like how often can you eat food? So
correct.
As long as you are alive and if you have the desire to do it, and if you have the body is responding, and if your mind is sort of telling you to do it, there's no harm in doing it.
No,
again, I tell that should not have any mental or physical issues which are bothering you. And if there are any issues bothering you, you do seek out help. That is the thing. So it's like drinking water, eating food, and masturbation is everything. It's the same thing because it's a physiological response of the body.
True. The next question, doctor, would be it's related to food. So does spicy food increase the feeling of having masturbation, or does it increase the sex drive of a person? Myth or fact? I'm not really sure.
I really don't know.
No.
Because there is no research that tells us that spicy food makes you sort of masturbate more or have sex more or anything like that. If you see, people are eating spicy food everywhere nowadays.
Right.
Of course, more in India and more in China, where the population is the maximum. But if you see, even nowadays in the European countries and in the Americas also, people do eat spicy food. And even in South America and everywhere, people do eat spicy food. So what the statistics tells us is that how many times do men and women have sex throughout their life, and how often do men and women masturbate throughout their life. It all depends on the culture in which geographic region you are and all those things. So I believe in India the frequency of sex statistically is about once or twice in a week. Whereas in Greece and in Rome, Italy and all that, it is slightly more, about 3 to 4 times in a week. And there are some cultures where the sexual frequency is a little more on the higher side. Plus, I know that it changes over a period of, as you become older, obviously the frequency will go down. As you are around the age of say 15 to 25, your frequency will be on the higher side. So it is very dynamic in nature. It keeps changing as per the region of the world where you are born. It depends on how you are brought up, what are the cultural influences that have sort of programmed your mind, what are the What are your personal thoughts on this? So all these things do play a role. I think there is a lot of research that needs to be done on this, maybe genetic studies and all that. So I cannot say whether spicy food really. There are people who do complain that when I eat spicy food, I get nightfall and all those things. We don't have too much data on that right now.
Right. So the next question was a person having wet dreams, and the person has written that he keeps having wet dreams regularly.
Correct.
So is it something normal, or does masturbation play a role in this?
Well, if he starts masturbating, most probably his wet dreams will go away. That is number one. But if these issues are bothering him, every day, then we can investigate and find out as to why this could be happening. There are some conditions where these things can happen, and after having a good interview and a proper case history from that particular patient, we are able to find solutions to these problems. So, as I said, that if wet dreams are continuing to bother you, that every day in the morning when you get up or every other alternate day, you find that you have wet your bed and your pajamas, now obviously it can be treated, it needs to be treated, and do seek help.
Yeah, so I have suggested him to connect with you. The next question is going to be, does masturbation in males reduce the semen count? If you are masturbating regularly or often, does it reduce your semen count?
Well, the semen count, if you see the semen test as it is usually tested in a lab, whenever we tell a person to go and get a semen tested, we tell him to abstain from sex or masturbation for 4 days. And the reason behind it is that we allow the sperm to get concentrated in the semen for about 4 days, and then we check the quality of the sperm. So if you masturbate, say today, and check your semen tomorrow, then obviously your count may be on the lower side. And this is a universal advice for each and every patient, from each and every doctor who tells his particular or her particular patient to give semen for examination. So there is a 4-day abstinence rule to check semen. So if a person is masturbating every day, obviously his counts will be lower on that day. If you masturbate today, tomorrow your count will be low, but then day after and then day after it will again come back to normal. So if you do not have any other issues.
Right. Perfect. The next is related to a female. So she wanted to ask that, does using vibrators, does it then after when a female is using a vibrator for masturbation, when she is having a normal intercourse with a partner, does sexual act, does that is it something where after that it is difficult for her to have orgasm with the partner?
Yeah. See, I would not blame the vibrator more for that. See, some women require more stimulation to get their orgasm, whereas some women are able to get their orgasm after a short duration also. So, there are some women who say that after having used the masturbator or the vibrator for many, many years, now I feel that the stimulation that I get through a vibrator is stronger and more as per what I want than what my partner is able to, sort of give me. Now, for example, if a woman who uses a masturbator or a vibrator, say for about 10-15 minutes, and then she goes to her climax or orgasm, is having sex with her partner who is having premature ejaculation. So if he is ejaculating in, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes in the sexual act, then she will always say that I'm better off and happier with the vibrator than with my partner. So this particular issue needs to be sorted out at an individual level by asking the appropriate questions and by taking the appropriate history. So there are some medicines also which can hamper in a woman's ability to get a climax. Even in case of men, there are some medicines which can hamper him to ejaculate and get a climax. So all this comes as a part of the medical history taking for a doctor like me. Now the advantage of me being a doctor and a counselor is that I know the side effects of almost all the medicines which people take and they come to me.
Correct. Correct.
Most of the counselors, they are more trained in counseling methods, but they do not have a good understanding of the pharmacology. Now, I rarely use drugs, but I know what medicines can cause side effects. In fact, most of the times I study the side effects of the medicines rather than the effects of the medicines. And I have a big book called Sexual Pharmacology. It's a big fat book which I purchased a long time ago, which gives me in detail all the side effects of almost all the medicines that are known to us.
Okay.
At the basic root level. So using a vibrator may or may not. So it's a difficult question to say yes or no. It is totally individual, and it needs to be tackled at an individual level.
Right, right. So there are, I think, of course, humans, we are all same, but there are so many things that we go through are different in everybody's life. So it is all going to be, most of it is going to be very personalized. So all of these people, I'm going to suggest them, all of them suggested them to contact you for the same, because it is something where they need to be counseled. And I'm very happy to know, and I have rarely seen a doctor who spends and believes into counseling more than medicine. So I'm really happy, and I definitely hope that they will connect with you and get the proper solutions. So that was wonderful. That was good to see that there were questions coming in this time, and yes, people have started watching more, and people are becoming. They still want to keep it private, but yes, at least they are asking questions. That's a good thing.
Correct.
So those are my
just a one line maybe at the end.
Yes.
That
yes.
I do advocate online counseling also, and I do a lot of online counseling. So people from all over the world contact me, especially what I've seen is people from Pune who are living maybe in Germany or Australia or New Zealand or America, anywhere. They can, and they do contact me, and I do give them the advice that they need. And I have seen that most of them are able to overcome their problem, because you need not meet me face to face all the time.
Correct.
You can meet me on a video chat like how we are doing here, and definitely I can guide them. And they should take advantage of the situation now that the lockdown is there everywhere. Even I am at home, and I can definitely spare more time for them and help them.
Very true. So, doctor, please tell them your contact number and maybe your email address so they can get in touch.
Yes, my email address and my contact number is quite similar. My contact number is 8180874477. And if you want to send me an email, you just add S and C before the number. So, SC8180874477 @gmail.com. And I encourage people to send me messages on WhatsApp for taking appointments, for asking questions, whether they are interested in online counseling. So I check my WhatsApp every half an hour or 1 hour maybe, and I do make it a point to give answers to everyone, guide them, and sort of it gives me immense pleasure in sort of sorting out these issues in the life of a person, so that he or she can be very productive later on in their lives, and these issues stop bothering them permanently.
Wonderful. So friends, that's the advantage of technology. Now, even in this situation where we are scared to go out and definitely scared to go and meet a doctor in this situation, we have online consultations. So please contact Dr. Rajendra Sathe. He has shared his email address and mobile number. Also, you can send a message on his Instagram handle, but preferably WhatsApp him for the appointment. Doctor, thank you. It was a wonderful topic that we discussed today, and I'm sure there will be some questions coming in. I'll share those with you later. And thank you so much for sparing time. I'm sorry the session got extended today, but thank you for sparing time and being with us.
Sure. Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good day, doctor.
Bye.
So friends, that was Dr. Rajendra Sathe. So kind of him to spare such wonderful time. He shared the history of masturbation, why such things, the myths had come into place, what happened, what were the stories behind it in different civilizations and different cultures. There's so much more to hear from him. I wish we had more time, but we have to end today on this note. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, please write to us on our Instagram handle. You can message us, or you can WhatsApp your questions to me on 9860531794. That is my mobile number, and I'll definitely share your questions and get the answers from Dr. Sathe. Or you can directly get in touch with him too. So thank you for being with us, and I hope this session would have helped you. Have a wonderful day, guys. Be safe, be in your houses. Do not go out unless it is really, really necessary, because this is challenging times, especially in Maharashtra and especially in Pune. So take good care, guys, and take exercise regularly, because I have met so many people in my life, and I've been doing these interviews, and everywhere I see that a good, healthy lifestyle, approach towards a good health, a holistic approach is really what truly matters in everything. May it be psychology, may it be sexuology, may it be anything, may it be focus on your work, your health, everything, happiness, stress, everything. So exercise, good eating habits, and good sleep. A combination of a good lifestyle is what every person should focus on. And in this challenging times where COVID, we need immunity. I think this is the best thing to do. So exercise every day, eat healthy, and sleep well. All right, guys, thank you so much for being on the platform of ISFS, ISST School of Fitness Sciences, in association with UHFF, that is United Health and Fitness Federation, the first registered federation in India for fitness industry. Thank you so much. This is Anand Pandya on Fitness Talks with Anand. Thank you. I'll see you next Friday at 5 p.m. Good day.